What's up, Dolph fans? Travis Wingfield here with you guys, the host of the Drive Time podcast, and I am thrilled to be joined by John Congemi, the co-host of the Audible podcast. He and Kim Bokamp are here on the official Miami Dolphins podcast network, and today we're talking all things 2020 NFL Draft and on the front seven in the defensive line, interior edge players, and linebackers. John, this group is loaded.
It's loaded, and it's loaded with guys that can run and hit, and as a defender, you want guys that bring a little violence to the table in terms of getting to from point A to point B. And a lot of these guys can find the football. And you're going to see some of the names that we're talking about, Travis, get picked maybe in the top 5, the top 2 picks, and then throughout that first round. And I'd like to start with Chase Young. I mean, he's arguably the best defender in this class, whether you go from defensive end to defensive tackle to linebacker to corner. This guy has the skill set at 6'5", 264 pounds that he's everybody's All-American. And I think he's going to go, everybody thinks he's going to go within the first 3 or 4 picks, depending on how things shake out, just because of what he does on the field. 2019 was a banner year for him, but he's had a terrific career. And I think that's what you get with a guy like Young. His playability kind of transfers. He never really peaked, and he never really hit that bottom rung. He's kind of plateaued and stayed there. 16.5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, 21 tackles for loss just last year as a Buckeye defender. You get elite athleticism, number one. I talked about his size and strength, but I don't think he's even scratched the surface of what he can do as a complete defender, because his run game, when you watch him defend the run, I think he's only going to get better in the National Football League, because he's not going to try to make every play on the field. Sometimes he would lose that edge or kind of dip in and guess on a run, and he was tracking guys down from behind. So as an edge rusher, he can bull rush you, he can speed rush you up the field. He's got power and strength with his hands. And I think he's only going to get better as a run defender.
Now, he is mostly an edge player, and we have plenty of players in this class that can play multiple spots on the defensive line. And the next guy I want to talk about is LSU's K'Lavon Chaisson, because this guy plays the run. This guy does all 3 phases of the game as a stand-up linebacker and an on-ball edge, John.
Well, you talk about a lot of these guys we're going to mention, and a lot of them do draw double teams because they're all going in the first round. They were the best players arguably on their football team. And Chaisson did that, not only for one season, but he was shortchanged really in 2018, a miraculous comeback from an ACL injury in the first game. So what he did in 2019 is kind of pushed all the chips to the middle of the table and say, I'm going to give you my best. This is what I'm going to be, hopefully a sneak preview at the next level. And he did that. He got to the quarterback 13.5 times for tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, 60 total tackles in 13 football games, and helping lead LSU on the defensive side of the national championship. You get, in my opinion, a game-changing type of pass rusher because he has a great bend for a big guy at 6'3". He can get even with the tackle, and then he's leaving the tackle because of that burst. So I like his complete game. You know, you really have to applaud guys that are this big and have that ability to kind of dip and not only be able to get the crease that edge, but get past that tackle and then finish. And Chaisson can do that.
We stay inside the SEC to go on the interior defensive line and talk about another guy who could come off the board in the top 10 in Derrick Brown. And this guy is a monster of a man. He can rush from multiple positions, head up over the nose. You can slide him out to the 2-tech, 3-tech, wherever you want to put him. He's going to get after the quarterback. He's going to disrupt your passing game. He's going to get in the backfield. This guy looks the part, John.
He's a rare dude. I just think that when you watch him play, you're looking for a 7 next to the 5 or a 6 next to the 5 because he's just number 5, and he takes up that jersey and spreads it from shoulder to shoulder. And he looks like a linebacker when he's making plays from distance because of his closing speed. Now, this is a guy that's 6'5", 326 pounds. And when you watch him on tape, he's violent, he's quick, he can close the gap, he can chase a running back down from behind, he can find a quarterback within the pocket or without, outside of the pocket and kind of using that motor. So this is a rare type of football player that you're going to see from day one in the National Football League have immediate success. He's a linebacker's best friend because he eats up tons of blocks up front. And not only that, he can elude the double team and make that big body, that big frame skinny and get inside that double team and make plays. So rare guy.
And you want to talk about high motor, the next guy on our list has the hottest motor in this class, in my opinion. JAVON KINLAW, my goodness, he is fun to watch, John. He is long, he is athletic, he is explosive. He checks all the boxes, too, on the inside of your defensive line.
And I think the Senior Bowl really helped him because it opened up the eyes of a lot of the scouts and a lot of the GMs around the National Football League. Everybody knew he was huge at 6'5", 325 pounds. I had a chance to watch him play live against Appalachian State when Appalachian State upset South Carolina in Columbia. And this is a guy that you could bring 2-3 blockers at him and he's still going to try to make plays. So that's the one thing that's a little bit not scary, but when you watch him play, the first quarter of a game, he may disappear because he's drawing so much attention. You go, where's JAVON? Where's he at? Then all of a sudden you get a single block on him and he's in the backfield and he changes the line of scrimmage. I think between Brown and KINLAW, they changed the offensive line of scrimmage where it starts, and then they're in the offensive backfield, and that's where it ends.
Moving back to linebacker now, then Clemson's Isaiah Simmons. This guy is a freak of nature. We talked about Chase Young getting off the bus. Isaiah Simmons is right alongside next to him there because this guy can drop into split safety. He can go 40 yards down the field with your fastest receiver. He can rush the edge. He can fit the run gaps on defense. This guy does everything on the football field, John.
Every NFL team wants another player like this. We've said that about a couple of defenders, and I think that's why this draft class, you look at the quarterback position, you look at the front seven position, whether it's defensive edge rusher, defensive tackle, or linebacker, it's oozing with talent. So there's going to be a lot of talented football players going in the first round that are going to contribute on NFL teams right away, and Simmons is that guy. I mean, he's 6'4", 238 pounds, and he runs under a 4.4 40. So you can play him at edge rusher, you can play him at linebacker, either side or in the middle. He can run down the alley with a tight end, cover a running back, even cover a slot to go outside and jam and kind of float his way in his direction, and can run stride for stride with most offensive players. So you get a guy that has, we talk about mismatches on offense. This is your mismatch guy on defense. He can line up anywhere and be that effective for your defense. So it keeps offensive schemes and blocking schemes especially, keeps them guessing at the line of scrimmage.
Another linebacker in this year's class, a national championship from LSU, Patrick Queen, has really shot up boards late in this process. Why do you think that might be, John?
Because he can run and he finishes. I think that's the biggest two qualities when you watch Patrick Queen play. He's a 4.5 40 guy. He can line up at any linebacker spot, and both Simmons and Queen can play 3 downs. So I think that's a trait when you see a lot of defenses, as the Miami Dolphins did last year, maybe 1 defensive tackle, 2 defensive tackles on the field, and you've got a bunch of linebackers / strong safeties, guys that can run and hit and play a lot of different coverages. That's why you want to get guys like Simmons and Queen and Baker and Equivon. There's a ton of guys that you mix in when the Dolphins are playing defense that you'd love to scheme around guys that can run and hit, guys that can tackle in space, guys you don't have to worry about taking on and off the field. That's why Queen, I think, is elevated in some NFL defensive coordinators or scouts' eyes, because he can do a number of things you don't have to worry about substituting for him.
I'm Travis Wingfield, the host of the Drive Time podcast. He is John Congemi, the co-host of the Audible podcast with Kim Bocamper, here on the official Miami Dolphins podcast network, bringing you everything about the 2020 NFL Draft and your Miami Dolphins, April 23rd, 8 o'clock Eastern.